All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. Going to be touching on the Wells Fargo Championship. Real quickly, a recap of last week. It was another solid week, and I was actually really surprised at the ownership of Jon Rahm and Tony Finau. And that's because I started out the video saying it is so easy to fit Jon Rahm and Tony Finau into your build. And if it wasn't for Sean O'Haire choking on the last 4 holes of his round on Friday, it would have been an easy 6 for 6 week. Still 5 for 6, easy to cash week. Tony Finau and Jon Rahm, if you put them together, the amount that you need to cash was 526. If you put them together, you got 277, 48% of the way there. They were only combined owned in 3% of cash builds and 7% of GPP lineups. Once again, that's where we are seeing a big edge in fantasy golf. People just really making it harder on themselves. Keep it simple, make it easy to cash. Let's go ahead and get into the Wells Fargo Championship. All right, so getting into the Wells Fargo Championship. This is going to be an interesting week. It is going to be an elevated field event. The issue that we have with this week is that a lot of the players are not going to have at least 2 years of course history data. But based off the course history data that we have, we know which key stats to be looking at. This is going to be a ball striking, total driving type of week. Also, par 4 scoring we're going to want to be looking at as well. With that, we can see which players are going to be the top stat fits. We got Patrick Cantlay, Sungjae Im, Tony Finau, Collin Morikawa, and Xander Schauffele popping up in there. Coincidentally, a lot of those players that are good stat fits are in the best recent form coming into this tournament. Patrick Cantlay, Jason Day, Xander, Ricky. No shocks there. And then specialist-wise as well, that, once again, is just pulling in the key characteristics for that week's tournament and putting into a data point. Now, the tough part about course history this week is the simple fact that last year, this tournament was played at a different course, okay? And then we didn't have it in 2020. So the sample size that our desirable sample size, the last 4 years for course history, we don't really get that, okay? So we really only get 2 years of usable data for course history. That's a big issue. Okay, I shouldn't say big issue because obviously we're pulling in a bunch of data points and whatnot. It's not going to change anything too much. It can alter, slightly here and there. So course history wise, we're looking at 2 years ago when Rory won it, then 2018, 2019 when Max Homa won it, and then Jason Day when he won it. And that's 5 years ago. And typically speaking, we don't like to put that in there because it's less relevant. And more times than not, it's not going to help. So very interesting week in terms of course history. But let's just go ahead and get into the top picks for this week. As we can see, we got Rory coming in as, not an elite play. And why is that? That's going to be because of that poor recent form that he's been in. 2 missed cuts out of his last 3 starts. That is not that great, right? But he has been so hit or miss. That's kind of the issue with him, is that he's been so hit or miss. It's tough to know what to do with him. The thing that is interesting about this week is that I find it extremely difficult to pay up for Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Collin Morikawa, because we are getting such great plays and safe plays while capturing just as much upside, most likely, just a little bit lower down. So let's go ahead and touch on some of those plays. So to me, someone like Jordan Spieth is a player that is going to make a ton of sense this week. Doesn't have any course history, that is fine. Don't really care about course history too much, but his recent form has been phenomenal. 2nd, 4th, 31st, 3rd, just a bunch of top 10 finishes in there. And I mean, it has just been tremendous form out of Jordan. The only issue that I have with Jordan is that he's priced up a little bit too much, just slightly, because I do really like the idea of playing Matt Fitzpatrick. Matt Fitzpatrick had an excellent week at the Zurich Classic while playing with his brother. Matt Fitzpatrick and his brother were priced in like the 8K price point range in that tournament. That should tell you just how poorly DraftKings thought Alex Fitzpatrick was going to do, and they still finished top 20, okay? And then the week prior to that, Fitzpatrick had 1, and then obviously finished 10th as well. So Matt Fitzpatrick is going to be a play that I think upside-wise is going to be there. It does seem like he's rounding into some great form, and if we think about Matt Fitzpatrick, he should be a good fit for this tournament. So he's a player that I really like as well. But then again, we also have Victor Hovland right there, and Victor Hovland is just, if we were to take out that last start at the RBC Heritage, I feel like we'd be much more confident in him as a play. Now, sure, didn't play all too well at the Dell Technologies match play tournament, but besides that, 7th, 3rd, 10th, 20th, good stuff there from Victor Hovland. He's a top 10 stat fit, top 10 in recent form as well, and had a great start at this tournament the last time it was played here. And then looking at Sungjae Im, hasn't made cut and miscut at this tournament, but Sungjae Im is coming in some of the best form out of anyone in the field. 10 straight made cuts in a row, 2nd best specialist, 3rd best stat fit, top 5 in recent form. Right? He is someone that just constantly is just popping up as a great play, and he's always priced a little bit too low according to how he's ranking out. Now, once again, my data is very much focusing in on safety and upside, prioritizing safety while also still capturing upside. And I guess I could see why Sungjae Im hasn't been as heavily valued as some of the other players, maybe just because he doesn't have that winning upside, if you will, but we're still getting top 10 upside out of him. And he makes for just a spectacular play then. So let's go ahead and move on into the mid-tier, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to include Jason Day in the mid-tier, simply because I don't like that many other plays in that range. I feel like there's a little bit too much risk associated with some of those plays. But yeah, looking at Jason Day, a former winner at this tournament, and then also has a miscut and a top 25 place finish. Jason Day, if we just look at his starts besides the Masters tournament, had been dominating. And I don't know how much we should read into this, but he did finish the Masters tournament terribly, 74, 80, really bad there, but bad weather tournament and whatnot for some of the players. Glad to see that he still made the cut. I guess that's one way to look at it. And he is coming in top 5 in recent form, top 12 specialist, top 20 in course history, and also top 10 stat fit. Jason Day at this price tag is going to be very difficult not to love as a play. And so I'm just going to be going ahead and just rostering him this week. And then with that, if we are rostering Ricky Fowler, then we just simply have to be rostering. If we are going to be rostering Jason Day, we just simply have to be rostering Ricky Fowler for the exact same reason. Like, Ricky has just been on a tear. Ricky is coming in as a top 5 specialist, top 20 in course history as well, top 12 stat fit, top 5 in recent form. Ricky has just been dominating, and he is my dark horse pick to win this week. Could definitely see the stars aligning for Ricky. He's just been playing that good at golf, and it is a cheap price tag for him. So for me, it's kind of easy to go Jason Day and Ricky. Now, a lot of people are going to be on Cameron Young, and I'm not going to say that that is going to be wrong, but at the same time, I do feel like he's probably going to be a little bit higher owned, and also he is a little bit too risk reward based, and we can see that based off of these last few starts: 51st, 7th, 51st, 10th, and that tracks back further as well. I guess the saving grace is that he has made 16 straight cuts in a row now, so that's a plus, and he should play well at this tournament. I'm perfectly fine if you end up on him. I see him more as a GPP only play though. And then from there, I also still do like Terrell Hatton as a play. Not exactly an elite option, I would say, this week, but if you look at really his form, I think it comes down to this miscut the Valero Texas Open. I think that just comes down to him being in contention to win the Players Championship, not being able to do that, and then in his next event just not being as mentally sharp. Prior to that, he had been playing some good golf. I think that's evident by the 10 out of 11 made cuts there. And so he is someone that is going to be a top 10 stat fit, top 25 in specialist, top 20 in recent form rank as well. So overall, Terrell Hatton, and if you think about the course setup, he would be a good fit for this course, so it's no surprise that he is a good stat fit as well. Terrell Hatton at 8.5 is going to be an interesting price point play there. And then looking at someone like Keith Mitchell now dropping down into that low tier price point tier. Keith Mitchell has some good course history, 3rd, 8th, 34th. Really good stuff there. He's not the best stat fit, but at the same time, still top 30 in the field, top 30 specialist, and top 35 in recent form rank. Given the price point, I would say it's valid where he's priced at, but I also do think he is going to present some upside for us. Now, in his last event, he finished 6th and then missed the cut. Remember, DraftKings is not including the Zurich Classic or the Dell Technologies Match Play Tournament results. My data is. So when I say that and it's showing miscut right here, that's why, for his most recent event. Played well there. And so I think he's a fine play, but I almost would rather just play Wyndham Clark at a slightly cheaper price point here. Clark has a made cut and miscut at this tournament, but he's going to be coming in with some of the best form in the field, okay? Finishing basically top 30 in all of his past 10 events. And so looking at that, he is just ranking out extremely well recent form-wise. The only issue with him is that when he gets close to a victory, he is choking. It's like the Milwaukee Bucks with the game in hand, ready to go up, ready to tie the series, and then go up 3-2, just choking it away. That's been Wyndham Clark. Now, yes, you could argue the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler also won it, but at the same time, you guys get the point I'm making here. Wyndham Clark has not helped himself when he's gotten into contention. But given the price, I do think he is going to be a good play for us. And then from there, I do like Taylor Moore and Siwoo Kim. I think those are going to be good price plays as well. Patrick Rogers is going to be an interesting click as well. 12 out of 19 made cuts on the PGA Tour thus far this season, coming in some great form. Top 10, top 20, top 5. Excellent stuff there. We see the Corrales really had one bad round there, a 77. One of the favorites that weekend just had a bad opening round and then shot 68. So we could kind of write that off as well. And obviously, if we go back further, had a rough stretch, I guess, but has just been playing some great golf. Has good course history. 2 top 40 finishes over the past 5 years. So overall, he's ranking out as a top 25 play. Looking at all the key metrics that we use, specialist data, course history, stat rank, and recent form rank, top 30 in all those as well. So a pretty good play across the board. Not exactly someone we need to play, though. I do feel like Emiliano Grillo is probably priced up a little bit too much, but he has been playing well over his last 4 events. It's gotten progressively better, and that's what I like to see. Obviously finishing 70th, 53rd, 7th, and 5th. So like to see that. And then course history-wise, 14th and 9th. So good stuff there. That's going to be enough for me to be interested in him as a play this week. Then we are getting some other good plays, like Joel Damon, I think is going to be a fine play. You got Ben Martin down there. Benny Ann's been playing some solid golf. Like those are all good enough plays. But let's go and drop down into the value tier. So value-wise, once again, I am going to kind of cheat a little bit. SH Kim is $7K. But he's a good price point play. I kind of feel safe for him as a play just because he's been playing some strong quality golf. And if we were to include the Zurich Classic results in there, his last 3 finishes have been 24th, 13th, and 15th, and then 45th. So 4 straight make cuts in a row. Love to see that. But he is also someone that feels a little bit too priced up. He's more or less a lineup filler to me. Like if we end up on him to close out our builds, we don't exactly feel the need to rebuild. That's kind of what happened to me last week with Aaron Baddeley to close out my build. Not exactly someone I was going out of my way to play, but to close out my build, I felt fine with it. He gave me a good enough chance at a make cut, and I liked the rest of my build. That's kind of how I feel about SH Kim this week. And then another good form-based play would be Dylan Wu here, who just been playing some good golf. Missed the cut at the Zurich Classic. Once again, if you guys don't want to include that, that's fine. If you take that out, he's actually made 7 straight cuts in a row as well. So not a terrible play. I think this week is ranking out top 40 in the 9-to-5 mile, actually a top 20 staff at this week. So definitely an interesting play this week. And then Michael Kim, just another decent form play, value play. If you want to roll with him, you can. So my core plays are going to be easy on you guys. It's going to be looking at those players in that kind of 9K price point range. Victor Hovland is going to be one of those guys. Good course history, good recent form, good staff fit, good enough specialist. Overall, Victor Hovland has been playing some great golf. I just don't see a way in which we don't end up on Victor Hovland this week, especially considering that price point. Maybe he's not a core play for you guys, but he is someone that certainly should be in your player pool unless he's coming in, I guess, 30% owned. Okay, and he is coming in at 25% projected owned. So coming in the yellow, maybe we do have to think about that. That's unfortunate. That's the first time I'm looking at ownership right now. Interesting. And I don't want ownership to dictate any of my process at all until after the fact. Be on the players that we want to be on, and then we can retroactively make some decisions if we need to. So that'll be a video that I come out with tomorrow, touching on kind of the ownership leverage and whatnot. I do think Sungjae Im is a great play though as well. Sungjae Im is like 10% lower owned than Victor Hovland, and he's equally as good of a play this week. So I think we could just pivot to Sungjae Im. Once again, Sungjae Im has just been playing such good, strong, consistent golf as well. And recently we have seen him be presenting more upside with his finishes. So that is something that's interesting to me. Does he have winning upside? I would probably say, sure, right? But we're not chasing him for an outright bet. We're chasing him for the safety. We're chasing him for a top 20 finish. And even at this price point, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then looking at Jason Day and also Ricky Fowler, basically the exact same plays, good staff hits, good course history, good specialists, great recent form out of them. And they're probably a little bit too cheap. And that's probably just because, I guess I don't really know. I guess long-term form, they would be, the two you could find a reason to knock over maybe some of the other players. But given how, DraftKings is a game, they have to price certain players in certain price point ranges. And that's kind of why we're benefiting by getting Jason Day and Ricky Fowler here. So going ahead and getting into a first look build, if we could easily fit Sungjae Im and Victor Hovland into a build, I would love that. I don't exactly feel comfortable with where that leaves us. Yeah, sure, we could maybe potentially go Dylan Wu in there, scheduling a miscut, if you will. But that only leaves us with 7.2 left over, and I don't exactly love anyone. Like to me, if I play Dylan Wu here, he would also be more of a shoulder shrug play where if I end up on him, I'm fine with it, but I'm not going out of my way to play him. And so thus I wouldn't want to play SH Kim as well. If I ended up on one of those two, I'd be fine with it. So maybe, given how high owned Victor Hovland is, we could potentially fade him and maybe just go with a more fair and balanced approach. And the way I could simply determine that as it sits right now is go back into the cheat sheet, go into the data slicer, and let's just sort by salary. We have 7.7 left over on average for the salary. And so let's just go, like 8K or so. Let's drop that salary down. We're going to close this. And then we're sorting by the best in the model. We got Wyndham Clark, Taylor Moore, and also Keith Mitchell. We won't exactly be able to make that work, but let's see. So it was kind of saying that we should be on Taylor Moore there. Instead, who's a player that's a little bit lower that we could go with? Emiliano Grillo. So a decent build process to start out with. All right, but that's going to be all for this video. Let's keep the streak up, guys. Fingers are crossed. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.